Welcome back, guys. Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. So today I'm going to talk about 18 different questions that you can ask a marketing agency prior to doing business with them that's going to all but eliminate the potential for you to make a bad choice for a strategic partnership when it comes to marketing. So if I'm looking to partner with a marketing company to handle my work, the first thing that I'm gonna ask them is, what do you know about my company that makes you wanna work with me? The last person I want handling my business is someone who's randomly cold calling 50 people a day, just looking and begging to get an opportunity to do work for somebody. Not to say that there aren't people out there that do that and that can be successful. However, I want somebody who's going to take a well thought out approach. They're going to see my company, take the opportunity to research it a little bit and really understand what my company is, what our goals are, how they could effectively help us reach those goals. And when you ask that question, the answer might simply be, well, I don't know much about it. I checked out your Facebook, I looked at your Google business profile, I noticed that you're running Google ads. And for me, that would be a good enough answer if the follow-up is, there's a lot more that I wanted to know, and those things are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If a marketing company is going to help you reach your goals, they have to understand what the impediment to those goals are in order to craft a solution to help you break through those things, right? So that's the first question that I would ask. Second question that I would ask them is, are you working with any of the competitors in my local market? And different marketing companies will have different policies on if they take multiple people in a certain market, if they cap it out based on the volume of people in the market, what have you. And different business owners will have different feelings on those policies, right? Some business owners may want to only work with a marketing company that has one contractor in that city, or one business owner in that state or that region. So that's something that I'd want to figure out on the front end. You can determine your level of comfortability with that answer, but it provides them an opportunity to be honest with you, and it gets it out of the way on the front end, so there's no ill will, after you're in a relationship with this marketing company. The next question I would ask is, would you agree to exclusivity? If that's really important to you as a business owner, that this partnership stays exclusive and they don't work with any other business owners, especially industry specific in your market, I would absolutely be straightforward and ask that question on the front end. When a marketing company is going to reach out to you, they're typically going to talk about all the great things they've done for you, how many clients they've helped in the past, and that is the reason why these next two questions are important. So, one being, can you tell me about a time that a campaign has been unsuccessful? Give that individual the opportunity, again, to be honest with you, to not only shed light on the positive outcomes, but talk about a time where there's been a challenge faced. And every business, marketing is no exception. There's going to be situations that present themselves that are less than ideal. And obviously how that company handles it, how they respond to it, and changes that they make to make a positive impact are very important. So having that conversation will give you the opportunity to get some insight into that company, how they solve problems, and if it's somebody that you really want to work with on a long-term basis. I'd follow that question up with, how many clients have you lost in the last 12 months? Again, this will put that individual in more likely than not an uncomfortable situation, and you can see how they respond to that situation. Are they being honest? There's typically indicators as to if somebody's being straightforward or if they're trying to dance around the truth, like many salespeople have tendencies to do. For me, that would be important to have an understanding of that. You could even follow it up with, why did those individuals leave? It could be a performance-based reason, but it could also be something such as, we were working with client A, B, or C, and while the results were great, they brought somebody in internally to handle the task that we were handling, and it's worked out well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's something that I would definitely want clarity on if I were looking to choose a prospective partner to handle my market. From there, I'd pivot into more performance-based questions. So when I'm investing in anything, I want to have an understanding of what is my return on my investment? What's my ROI? So in order for me to feel confident and have an understanding of what my ROI is, I need to know how the company that I'm hiring to do my marketing is going to gauge a successful campaign. So the next question I would ask is, what metrics or key performance indicators is your company going to use to gauge a successful campaign for my company? Is it just going to be leads? Is it going to be specifically calls? Is it going to be messages or forms? Those are definitely desirable outcomes, and those would be strong indicators of a successful campaign. If you're looking at something like SEO, search engine optimization, increased position in the first few months is definitely something you want to take a look at, that your positions are increasing and trending upward until it gets to the point where your exposure is actually getting you clicks and calls, as opposed to someone who's just going to simply say impressions or clicks, because there's a lot of times where you can get a ton of impressions, meaning your website or your ad is shown to somebody, or you can get a ton of clicks that don't necessarily turn into calls or leads. So it can be a misguided statistic to follow, a vanity stat, if you will. Most marketing companies are going to talk to you about all the leads they've gotten for other contractors and how they can help you get more leads. But leads is a very ambiguous word. So I would definitely 100% of the time ask, what do you consider a lead? And you might be surprised as far as the responses that you get. Not everybody views these things through the same lens. But again, like, there's high intent when somebody calls you after looking for a product or service, or when they message you directly after looking for a product or service. So, like, in my eyes, those would be the most valuable from an internet marketing perspective. So what's important is to have a clear understanding of, if a company is going to tell you, let's say month 3, well, we got you 50 leads, you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page as far as what a lead is, so that you're not having that conversation again 3 months in versus on the front end before you make your decision. Honesty is a very important aspect of a successful relationship. When choosing a marketing company, that's no different. So this next question I'm going to use to gauge how honest this individual or this company is going to be with me. So the question would be, in the first 30 days of my campaign, how do you plan to make a massive impact on my company? So when you're doing online marketing, it's going to typically take time for things like search engine optimization, even things that are more immediate like Google Ads. Month 1 may be the slowest month of the campaign after launch. Just because you're fine-tuning, adjusting the audience, building out, further negative keywords and things like that. So typically I say month 1 is the slowest of the campaign, as from a conversion perspective. But I've heard a lot of contractors that have come to me in the past say things like, they guaranteed me first page rankings in 30 days and made all these outlandish promises that just aren't true and they'll never be true. That is exactly why I would ask that question, and see what type of response that you get. If you can have a pretty good understanding if someone's being genuine with you or not, simply by the answer to that question that they give you. So moving on, I would preface this next question by explaining that, I'm looking to grow, right? We want a lot of leads, but I would then ask, what's more important to your company, quality or quantity? And see what that individual says. And allowing that individual to talk through what their answer is and why that's their answer may make your decision a lot more easy, whether it persuades or dissuades you from wanting to work with that individual. I'd want to have a clear understanding of this person's level of competence within my industry, because if they're comfortable within my industry, they understand what's going on in my industry, there's a stronger likelihood that my campaign is going to take off more quickly, and there's going to be less of a learning curve, and that's a really good thing. So I would ask someone I'm interviewing to handle my marketing, how many other companies do you work with that are in my industry? Based on the answer that they give me, I'm going to follow that up with, give me 3, give me 5 names of the companies and the person that you deal with at that company that you're currently working with and, is excited to talk about everything you're doing for them. A lot of companies will have someone call you and talk about, again, the great success that they're having with other clients in your industry, and not a lot of people investigate that. So I'm not saying you necessarily have to call those individuals, although, if they're claiming that they're happy with their service, I would welcome you to do so. But even seeing if there's any hesitation when you ask that question can help be an indicator of this, if this is somebody that you actually want to partner with or not. Even if you're hiring a third party to handle your marketing and advertising, it doesn't mean you're off the hook entirely to not have to do anything. In fact, that couldn't be even any further from the truth. So I would ask that individual, assuming we decide to move forward with your company, what's expected of me? What are the things that I can do to help make a positive impact, to maximize everything that I'm going to do with your company? This is a very important question. I don't think it's asked enough, but I think it's definitely something that would warrant consideration, because you want to create a marketing ecosystem to where, if you're outsourcing 3 or 4 things, you're doing 2 or 3 things internally, things like whether it's you're doing Google ads and you're doing SEO and you got a custom website, and over here you're doing direct mailing campaigns and you're doing door hangers and Google business profile posts and all these other things. There should be continuity and synergy between everything that you're doing, where these ads and mailers are being deployed to get the strongest impact. The messaging and branding should be clear, concise, and consistent throughout those different channels that you're leveraging for marketing. So I think it would definitely be warranted to ask that question and have a strong understanding of what those expectations would be from that company to yours. From there, I'd want to have an understanding of what it looks like to be onboarded and to launch. And that looks typically different at every company. So if you decide that you need a website and you hire a marketing agency to build you a website, some companies, depending on the site that they're building, might get your site live in 3 or 4 weeks. Some companies might take 3 months. And there's reasons why there would be a discrepancy as far as the work that's being done to the site in most instances, but it's definitely something that you want to have a clear understanding of before you decide to do business, because if you decide to buy a website from somebody and you just assume it's going to be done in a few weeks, you go to check in and they tell you, well, we still got 2 more months on the development schedule. That would be pretty frustrating and a pretty poor user experience for you. So asking this question on the front end, having a thorough explanation as to what to expect can help alleviate that issue in advance, and I think is definitely something that you would benefit from doing. Communication is vital to any relationship. So I would certainly ask, what can I expect as far as communication from your company about my campaign? How frequently will we meet, have phone calls? Have an understanding of what that customer experience looks like. If you decide to reach out to the references that you've asked for before that they provided, maybe you substantiate this question with them as far as, from the consumer experience, what does that look like for you? And that way you can understand if it's somebody in a company that you want to work with. Going into this relationship with a new marketing company, you want to have confidence in that company and you want to feel good about the decision you're making, but not at the expense of ignoring what it looks like to divest from that company if after 12 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, you decide that it's no longer a good fit. And that's why I would ask that individual, 1, do I own my website once I leave? And you'd be surprised how many individuals have been led down a path to make it seem like they're going to own their site, only to find out years later that they don't actually own the site. So that's definitely something I would be explicit about. But then having an understanding of what it looks like to move on from that company should you decide to do so, as far as your website is concerned, to make sure that it's an experience that they'll accommodate. Even if you own the website, is it something where they're going to give you a 3.5-inch floppy disk and make you port the site that way and make it nearly impossible to be a seamless process? Because that is definitely a thing. So I would 100% implore you to ask that question for sure. The last question I would ask is, what does it look like when I need changes? Right? Maybe I need to change my address. Maybe I need to add a page to the site or make a tweak to some of the content. I'd want to have an understanding of what that experience looks like for me as a consumer, and are there any additional charges that are going to result subsequently? Do I have design time included with my hosting program, with the company and my website? Do I have to pay on a per change basis? Are there hourly fees? That's something that's typically not discussed, and it's not something where you want to engage with the company and then find out, after the fact that, yeah, we can definitely make those changes, but it's $175 an hour to make those changes and they're gonna take 3 hours to change. And you have no way to check that. So I would definitely recommend working with a company that's going to give you some degree of accommodation when it comes to ongoing changes that are going to need to be made to your website and or your campaign, for sure. Another question that I'd want to ask is, at the end of my term, whether it's a 3-month, 6-month, month-to-month, 12-month term, what should I expect as far as pricing? Is my price going to remain the same? Is there a standard increase that you charge? Exactly does that look like for me? And the answer to that question is very important, because if they assure you that there's not going to be any price increase, at any point in time, that would raise a red flag to me. Simply because in running a business, it's very hard to forecast the future as far as what your overhead is, what it's going to cost you to retain team members, to acquire new team members, infrastructure, things like office, softwares especially, and with the fluidity in those and the unknowns, it would be very challenging to say, yes, we're never going to increase the price, or we're going to standardize a price increase of X, right? So I would definitely be interested in hearing what that individual had to say with regards to pricing for the future. The reason that I created these questions is I have had countless individuals reach out to me that have had very negative experiences with 1, 2, 3, or multiple more marketing agencies since their inception of their business. I wanted to create a standardized process for you guys to be able to ask these questions and have confidence in the next marketing agency that you choose. And I assure you that if you use these questions as a guide to help vet a marketing agency while making your next decision, there's a much stronger likelihood that you'll enter into a strong partnership with a marketing company that cares and that you're bound to be successful with. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, share, all the good stuff, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.